Welcome back, everyone, to the Bitcoin Business Bureau. I'm your host, as always, LitecoinLeader. Got a lot of energy today, no pun intended, but we're talking about energy, and hopefully that you'll find this message to be a powerful one. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to go there. It's my last pun, I think, for the day, but this is going to be a good one, I think. So let's take a look at it. Tell me what you think. Leave comments below. Share it out there. And by the way, last night we had a great AMA for my Patreons. Over 20 people were there. It was a lot of good conversation, a lot of good questions. If you're not there, you're really missing out. But today I want to focus on energy and spending energy. I have a lot of notes that I want to talk about. I have a few things to share, but the number one thing I wanted to talk about is natural resources and energy. Now the energy, we have two precious things. It's our time and our energy. Those are like those two things that we spend and we really don't get back. We never get back our time, but energy is a close second. And that's probably our most precious resource that you can go out and buy more, get more. That's what everything is measured in, is really comes down to energy. There's many ways to measure energy, but all of it's a consumable. Like we burn calories when we move things. We burn oil and gas and wood to heat our homes, when we move our cars, when we move things from one place to another. Electricity is another way of measuring, but it all comes down to energy. It's consumed by one or more processes, and the more steps that it takes to get from that energy form, that store of energy, over to what we want it to do, the more steps, the more inefficient it is. And we know this as when in the crypto world, when you're going from one coin or one token to another, you want to find the least amount of steps to get from A to B. Like if you want to get from Bitcoin to Litecoin, pretty easy. There's a trading pair for it. But if you want to get to, like, I don't know, Solana from Bitcoin, you got to go through some steps. You may be able to find there's over the counters like Coin Trading Company. There's a link to that in my description. Glenn and Jesse take good care of you. It's also on my website. They do a great job of doing that. And that's just a phone call or a text, and they will do it. And there's a transaction fee. That's the cost of that efficient process. That's it costs them about 3.5% to go from coin A to coin B, but it goes right into your wallet and you're done. You could do it yourself, but then you're spending your own time and energy to do it. So efficiency comes down to what price are you willing to pay for it. And eventually there's only so much energy that can be consumed. So there's a cost of time and value in doing every step and every process. So there's a strive for efficiency in everything we do. Now, getting back to our planet, and I need to be careful in how I discuss this for many reasons. And I'm going to be expending some of my energy. All right, maybe a little bit more of a pun, but I'm going to be looking at other platforms shortly to figure out where else I can get this message out and not be restricted in what I say. But and we saw that on my AMA last night. But we're going to just talk, and I'm going to use language that's probably going to be just fine for YouTube, but I'm going to be sharing out probably this video to other platforms. I would love for you guys to share it out with me. I want to get this message out, because understanding the global picture on efficiency, and I have to be careful about using the word global, because that's there's a spin on that word that's not allowed. So, but anyway, for our globe, there's only so many natural resources, and that's what the point of contention is right now. And there's going to be many more discussions on that, especially a special one on November 13th. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to allude to that, and I'll probably make another video about that. But November 13th, something very special is happening on Mount Sinai or nearby that you need to know about. And I can't talk about it here, but let's talk about what I can, which is the energy and the resources. So going back a couple hundred years, let me share my screen. So going back a couple hundred years, there's a great graph, and George Gammon, his video today, clued me into some of this, and I'm putting a different spin on it. But this is the global primary energy consumption by type of resource, okay, for the last 200 plus years. Now, the bar on the bottom, that's the green bar. That's traditional biofuels. Think burning wood, okay? Just think about burning wood. Yes, there are other things you can burn, but pretty much like biofuels, think about burning wood or other things to create fire, okay? In the 1800s. Then you had, in the 1850s, the steam engine, and you had locomotion, you had a train started, and there was steam engine. So you're still burning things, but now coal comes on the scene. Notice that the old way of doing things, it doesn't really go down. It just pretty much stagnates. Now you had coal to the mix in the 1850s. And you know that there were a lot of trains back then. There was the Golden Tie and getting the Transcontinental Railroad. That was a big innovation. Then, if you happen to note something right around 1913, interesting date, um, oil starts to become a big deal, and it becomes the basis of a lot of energy consumption, rivaling coal, and coal was deemed to be too dirty. So people say, let's use oil instead. As a byproduct of that, you also start finding natural gas too, and that in the yellow here starts to emerge. So now you have an economy or a financial system built around these natural resources, predominantly oil, okay, since 1913. Interesting that now, back in, around the, not the early 1900s, but around like the 20s, 30s, 40s, you start to see other greener things emerge, like solar, biofuel, nuclear, and hydropower. So hydropower, that was probably the first one, because we didn't get to nuclear until after World War II. But we got to, we had big water turbines, and we had the Hoover Dam being built, and that emerged. And then came nuclear, and then came the greener energies of solar and biofuel. And now they're reclassifying a few things as greener because there's a big picture here. And if you notice something dramatic on this chart, whenever a new source of energy is added to the pile, the other pile, the rest of the stuff on the pile doesn't go down. It goes up, or it gets larger. Okay. We never get away from, maybe it kind of levels up, but we never get away from the previous existing energies that are out there. So let me go back and start talking to you again. Go back to my notes. Okay. Here we go. So there's a strive for people to go to efficiency. And there's been allegations made out by many people for the last 200 years or so that there's only so many resources on the planet. Okay. And then eventually we're going to consume them all. And I'll drop a few names here. We all know about the World Economic Forum, and they're having a meeting later this month about the climate and about the environment. So stay tuned for that. But also, here's a little bit for a few more rabbit holes if you'd like to go down these. The European Management Forum existed. The Club of Rome existed. Thomas Malthus, he was one of the first ones out there in the 1800s to talk about there's only so many resources on the planet. I'll just say that for now. You can chase those things later on. But basically, for the last 200 years, people have been saying there's only so much resources on the planet, and eventually we're going to run out. And now we were saying we're damaging the planet, and we're going to impact the planet adversely, which may be a bit of a cocky statement to think that we are impacting the earth that much. Okay, it's possible, but is it probable? Like, sometimes humans have a tendency to get cocky, and they tend to think that they can analyze things and understand things that are just way too complex to grasp. Think of the weather. Okay, we model the weather. There's all these like Doppler 5000s, 9000, Doppler 74 billion, whatever. We can't predict ideally, or we can't perfectly predict the weather. Like, storms emerge, we can't do anything about them. Maybe we can, who knows? But for the most part, the models, they're not perfect. We say it's going to rain, and the weatherman gets it wrong, and it doesn't rain. It's not perfect. But we put all this time and energy into developing these models, these complex models through computer systems, to try and model something that's probably impossible to get 100% right. Now, why do I talk about that? Well, back in the 60s, I believe, they tried to model the economy, right? Not the economy, but the financial system. And they tried to predict, based on some of the things that I mentioned earlier, some of the documents from Thomas Malthus and the WEF and other research that they were doing, saying that we're going to run out of resources, and at some point, population will decline. The environment will get too bad. Resources would get too expensive and not be available. But that's a flawed analysis. And the reason it is because that whenever you write one of these algorithms, or you write these computer programs to try to figure all this out, it's often too complicated, and we make assumptions to try and simplify things that are probably incorrect. Like, we predict, okay, there's X amount of oil and gas right now, but eventually it's going to run out. But is that true? Is it going to be that way? Well, in the present financial system, they're controlling who gets access to it by, artificially controlling the price. There's futures. It's not a true economy. We don't know when things are going to run out. We don't know how things will go as the supply runs out. The models say, hey, we're going to run out and then this happens. But we don't know what happens between today and the point where things start to run out. Will demand go down? Well, demand will be there, but will people start consuming less if the prices go up? That's what an economy does. Price is a strong indicator, if not the best barometer, back to weather, to tell you exactly how much things are worth, right? If oil right now is around 80 to 100 bucks a barrel, give or take. We have so much manipulation going on right now about gas prices and reserves and futures and trade partners and supply that we don't know what the true economic price is. Should it be $100 a barrel? Should it be 300? Should it be 50? Well, what we do know, we don't know. We just don't know. But what we do know is if we started to run out, the price should go up. And if the price does go up, people will naturally buy less. Just think about it. If you go to the store and things cost 3 times as much, are you going to buy as much as you did before? Probably not. That is price is the good barometer, the good indicator of consumption. So let's go back to the graph real quickly. And I just look at the last 200 years again. Things didn't diminish as innovation happened in the 1800s. We discovered, coal and using that for trains and transport and creating more energy systems. And then we added oil and gas, and then we added to the pile. We never shrunk the pile. Okay. And then it's like whenever things feel like they get too expensive, well, we look for other answers. And that's what an economy does. You're not limiting innovation based on artificial control. So in a true economy, not a financial system, price incentivizes people's actions. If things are expensive, less is purchased and consumed. When things get too expensive, that resource demands innovation. You have to find a better way. It's not an artificial system anymore that's controlling the finances or demands by the powers that be that we make a change. Like, we're not out there dictating that we shrink the use of previous energy solutions like oil and gas for the alleged better green ones. It shouldn't be dictated by the powers that be. It should be vetted by a free market. And when a free market has price discovery, then you find out what things are truly worth, and then people can make clear and decisions their actions with their other valuable assets to trade for those solutions. So higher prices lead to adaptive behavior and innovation. So if things are going to get too much in price, how can we find a better way of managing those resources or using something else? So, for example, if oil went to $300 a barrel, we would be incentivized. There'd be a lot more people spending their time and energy and their mental capacity and all their resources to find a better solution, right? That leads to finding the most efficient ways of doing things. That's human nature. We always strive to do something more efficiently, no matter what it is. We don't want to take 6 steps to do something when we can do it in 1 or 2. So all this comes back to money, because this is the crypto channel, and I wanted to bring it back to, what money and the economy versus a financial system. Money, what's the best and most efficient way of storing value? Is it digging precious metals out of the ground? Is it printing currency? Or what if the most precious resources are time and energy? Would the most efficient method of converting energy from a time and energy perspective be the best store of value? I'm just saying, I think Bitcoin is probably that answer. So wouldn't that mean that those who control the previous methods of controlling those resources and that financial system, wouldn't they be incentivized to suppress that new store of value? Let me share my screen one last time. And I will share 2 slides that I have. Let me go over here. 2 slides that I have from EconomicPreppers. So when we did the EconomicPreppers event, I shared 2 of these slides, and this is just to give you an idea of what it was like to be there. And we have 3+ hours of recorded talks from there, talking about this and similar topics. But this one slide talks about Bitcoin consumption versus other industries. Bitcoin, there was a lot of FUD out there in the last year or 2 about how much energy Bitcoin mining consumes. If you look at Bitcoin mining as the terms of terawatt hours, scale doesn't really matter. It's all relative. 62 is the number for Bitcoin. Domestic refrigeration, okay, that's keeping things cold. That's your refrigerator in your house, your freezer, refrigerators that are at the grocery store, refrigerators that are used in businesses. Over 10 times as much, 630 versus 62. Are we really going to say that we are better off in a world without refrigeration? No, of course not. We don't want to have an ice box where the guys are bringing a big chunk of ice and bringing it to us back 80, 90 years ago when we had ice box coolers. Refrigeration has been a more efficient way of doing things. So we're not going to get rid of our fridges and freezers. Looking further at this, okay, the other slide I wanted to share is this one: banking versus gold versus Bitcoin. Gold is in the low 100s. Gold's about 250. Banking is about 260, 270. Okay, 2.5 times larger than Bitcoin is the banking system. So, what's the more efficient way of doing things? What's the more efficient way of storing value? I think you can decide. But let me close with this, and I'll just leave it at this. What would happen in a world where free energy was available? Think about that for a minute. I'll leave you with that for now, and it's probably a topic for another show, probably on a different platform. But with all that said, I would love to hear your feedback and what you think about this video. Please like and subscribe. Share this video out to other platforms and other people that need to see this and understand that this is about control and battles over energy. Okay, it is about energy and the efficiency of controlling that energy. Okay, that's what I'm talking about today. So for more topics like this, please subscribe. Please follow me along on my social medias. All that stuff is in the description. But for now, I want to close the door on the bureau, say follow leader one more time, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.